A lot of parents are living through their kids and are not allowing kids to enjoy the process. And that's a big issue.
On today's Wind Up Wednesday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Dr. Adams and the OCP team of correspondents host a special edition of the OCP on the general state of basketball. From high school to grassroots to college and beyond, this episode will cover many of the major topics affecting today's game. Welcome to today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and my tag team partner, Coach Mike Franchise Francis, is on a well-deserved vacation. And happy birthday again for the 14th time to my tag team partner. Today, however, we have a very special episode, which is near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about the state of basketball, and that is high school, grassroots. That is college, that is professional. So again, we're very excited to have these folks. Today's episode is dedicated to the memory of Bill Russell and John Thompson. And we first want to introduce our OCP correspondents today. This is very exciting for me to have. First person I want to introduce is Will Maynard, who is the head boys basketball coach at Southern High School in Harwood, Maryland. Will is a longtime friend and supporter of the Odd Coaches Podcast and has coached a number of talented players who have gone on to play college basketball at all different levels. Will, thank you for joining us. How are you this morning, sir?
Well, how about yourself?
Oh, man, I am blessed and highly favored. Our second panelist today is Shawn Brown, who is the head men's basketball coach at Frostburg State University. Frostburg State over the last few years have transitioned from Division II to NCAA Division III to NCAA Division II. And Shawn is in a unique position on this panel because he can discuss not only Division II and Division III basketball, but he can also discuss the women's game as well based on his lengthy coaching resume. Shawn, thank you for joining us. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed. Thanks for having me today. And before you continue, I want to give a special shout out to Coach Francis also, who's been my longtime coach and mentor growing up since I was about 8 years old. So happy birthday, yes. Coach.
And he sends his best as well. I got the text. And our final panelist, I hope to not use nicknames and I hope not to cry, for real. Riley Inge is a Hall of Fame player from Mount St. Mary's. Riley led the Mountaineers to the 1995 NCAA tournament, the 1996 NIT tournament. First team NEC, just an all-time great at the Mount, all-time great person. His name is still littered all over the record books at the Mount. And most importantly, he is one of my best friends that I have in this world and one of the finest people I know. Riley, I'm going to be totally professional today. Thank you for joining us. Right. And how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, Keith. Thanks for having me, man. Very excited to be here.
All right. My goodness. Just one look, we'll turn this thing crazy. All right, so we're going to open up the show and talk about the state of high school basketball. And I'm going to ask each panelist a driving question throughout the entire show. Are we in a healthy place? So I'm going to start with you, Shawn. As a college coach, you're around the thing all the time. Are we in a healthy place in terms of high school basketball? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's tough for me to say yay or nay because I'm with our recruiting restrictions. I'm not in the gyms as much as I was as a Division III coach, and as well with the COVID restrictions. I do know this. As far as recruiting high school athletes, that it would probably not in a healthy place. Um, when it comes to high school athletes having opportunities to move on to 4 year or even 2 year opportunities right out of high school without that prep year, that gap year, whatever that year is going to be. So from the outside looking in, I would say yes. High school basketball, as far as the recruiting standpoint, is not in a healthy place right now.
Okay. Will, you are in the belly of the beast, so to speak. Are we in a healthy place in high school basketball? What do you think, sir?
Um, I'm very concerned. Um, and it's crazy. I don't want to be that guy that, you know what I'm saying, kids are playing on my lawn. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just really concerned with the state of high school basketball. Just from starting when I started coaching in 2004, I've seen a drastic difference. One of the biggest things, the issues I see is parents. A lot of parents are living through their kids and are not allowing kids to enjoy the process. And that's a big issue. And like, I understand when people like to say it's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be fun. But unfortunately, everything you do in life isn't fun. And just like with sports, everything's not going to be fun. Riding the bench may not be fun for that 14th man. Um, you know what I'm saying? Maybe even being a man, having that type of pressure is not fun. So I don't go with that whole notion that it needs to be fun all the time. But I'm concerned that a lot of parents are just living through their kids. Another issue, transferring. It's like, it's crazy. You don't even know where kids play nowadays. 1 minute this kid is playing at school A, and then he may average 15 points a game, but the coach told him he's not good at this, and next thing you look, he transfers. And so that's very concerning that so many kids are transferring. And not just transferring, but transferring in conference, stuff like that. That's very, now, public school, if you move or something like that, but private school, I know some of them has certain stipulations on it, but some don't, and it's crazy. And to piggyback off what Coach Brown says, the recruiting aspect is just very unfortunate. I understand, coming from a college perspective that, it's your livelihood, and I'd rather spend time dealing with a junior that was a 15th man or a 13th man on the college roster than that fringe high school guy, because you don't have time to develop him because you may not be here to develop him. But I just think those three issues are very concerning about high school basketball.
Okay. And Riley, you are in a unique position because not only are you an elder statesman, and it's funny because I'm older than you, but you also officiate. So I'm always curious when we have our private conversations, what do you think, Riley, is high school basketball in a healthy place?
Well, I mean, I see high school basketball and, youth sports for that matter. Like, I'm seeing like, everything is starting to change. You know what I'm saying? Like COVID, kind of forced things to change or what have you. But, even beyond COVID, like I'm looking at how the transfer portal has affected college basketball, right? There's a lot of changes that are starting to happen. And I think that I don't think that youth sports, high school basketball has adjusted to it yet. Hasn't got in front of any of this stuff. So like, it seems like everybody's having to kind of react to what's going on. In a healthy state, I mean, right now, I think high school basketball is at a standstill, and I think that high school basketball could soon be in trouble, because I think people are going to continue to start pushing the boundaries as they should, because people are finding out that you can do more. I mean, you can homeschool your kid. You can, there's so many creative things that you can do with high school kids today, charter schools, all these things that didn't exist back when, Keith, you and I were in school. There's so many different things, so many different ways that kids can experience, basketball. So
I like that you've mentioned that, and we're going to use that as the transition to grassroots basketball. because I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use you to jump off at that. Um, is the state of grassroots basketball AAU in a healthy place, Riley? And then we'll give that to the other members of the panel.
I think again, like these are the people that are in trouble. I had a conversation early this spring with a close friend of mine who was associated with Team Takeover, and I was saying to him, because I'm no longer involved in AAU basketball, but years ago I used to run the DC Blue Devils. And so, I was talking to him and I was saying, like, now that the transfer portal is doing what it's doing and college coaches really aren't trying to, recruit these high school seniors anymore, unless you're the elite kid. If you're the elite kids, then yes, Duke is still available and so forth. But, outside of that, if you are the mid-majors, George Mason, for example, George Mason is going straight into the portal. They're not coming to Paint Branch High School to see who's in the gym anymore. You know what I mean? So I think AAU now, now they have to figure out, like, are they really helping the kids? How can you help the kids if the college, unless you have those elite kids, like, you know what I mean? Like the rest of these programs that don't, now you just, again, I think that if you want to give a kid a basketball experience by taking them out of town and letting them sleep in hotels and playing 2 or 3 games against other competition, that's all fine. But, once upon a time, AAU was the platform for high school kids to get into college basketball, and I think once again, it's becoming unnecessary.
Will, what are your thoughts? Is grassroots basketball in a healthy place?
Some, in some ways, it is. It's because it's keeping kids busy. See, it's getting kids out of their environment that normally would be in, some situations that they probably wouldn't be successful in. So in that aspect, I love it that it's keeping kids busy, it's keeping kids off the streets, and it's broadening kids' horizons, because you have a lot of kids that are flying on airplanes that if it wasn't for AAU, they probably would still, to this day, would never have rode an airplane before. But just to piggyback off what Riley says, it's tough. Like you said, with the high school kids becoming an endangered species, it's tough. And it's crazy because, like, I was talking to a Division I coach a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that they didn't even send their whole staff out because they had transfer kids on campus that they had to host. So, it's kind of a tough situation. The one thing I don't like with grassroots, though, I don't love, there's 2 things I don't like. And one, I don't like the fact that how adults are using kids for jobs, brokering under, backdoor deals because, I'm trying to get on. I want to be the ops. I want to, try to get on to that third assistant. I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? If you're fortunate enough to get a job because of a kid, it's different. But don't try to broker backdoor deals. You know what I'm saying? Just for yourself, for the betterment of yourself. The other thing, too, that I have an issue with is it's a lot of ducking on AAU. It's crazy because I hate the circuits because, it limits you. I love that pandemic year. I loved it because everybody was playing with each other. And I liked it this year in this area that a lot of the teams that normally don't play against each other, are starting to play against each other and stuff like that. And that's how it was when I played. Teams played each other. It wasn't, okay, DC Assault didn't play against this team because, if DC Assault beats them, they're going to lose this kid. It happened anyway. So I just thought that I don't like the fact that some of the adults take the competitive fun out of it by ducking.
Okay. Shawn, as the current college coach on the staff, don't get yourself in trouble, but is it in a healthy place, grassroots basketball?
Well, I do sit in a unique position because I'm a college coach and I'm a parent of a young man that's in the AAU and going through this whole grassroots things. We're switching AAU teams. We're trying to find the best fit. So, I hate it, but it's is what needs to be done if if your kid wants to play and not only play, get noticed, get recognition. A few things. I hear a lot of coaches saying, you know, there's not a lot of colleges that's recruiting high school kids, and that's not quite true. Will's my cousin, just for full disclosure. So when we go back and forth on a lot of different things over the last 15 years or so. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm disputing anything he says, but for a lot of these young men, is either D1 or bust. Or if they don't go Division I, they feel like they failed straight out of high school. When that's not the case. You have all kinds of great Division III schools, great Division II situations, really good NAIA situations. Then down to the junior colleges. So there's a lot of situations. But a lot of these young men, is D1 or bust, and realistically, a lot of them wasn't Division I to begin with. So that's kind of my take on it. I like AAU because I think those guys that coach and do that whole AAU thing, I think those guys are special, man. To take your whole spring, your whole summer, and take a whole group of kids out all spring, all summer, and compete. On a national level, even if you're not on a national level, you're going to other regions. I think that's special. Those times, those weekends, they'll never be able to get those back. And those things will be stained in those kids' memories for the rest of their lives. I mean, I remember, we won our region one time and couldn't even go to the nationals because we weren't funded. There was another time where we went to Virginia. Well, we went twice. And I still remember those vividly. When I was 13 years old, we're talking 30 years ago. I remember those vividly. Those kind of memories you can't quite duplicate. Being at home and playing against the same folks that you play against year in, year out. In my opinion. Now the ugly side of it, as Will was saying, it's a moneymaker. It's a money grab. I went to two of my son's events this summer, and we spent a total of probably $600 with hotels and hell, entry fees are $25. It's becoming a lot. It's becoming a moneymaker. And if it's not one of the well-run tournaments, you may end up being scammed.
Well, we're going to use that as our cutoff point for high school. And when we get back, we're going to talk about the state of college basketball on the Odd Coaches podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA Save Project's academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress, as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. In segment 2, we are going to talk about the state of college basketball. Are we in a healthy place? And before we pass it over to the panel, I'm going to give you some quick stats. Transfer portal. 2018-2019 season, there were 700 men and 350 women in the transfer portal. 21-22 season, over 1,400 men and 1,100 women in the transfer portal. And in terms of NIL, NIL refers to name, image, and likeness, which is a college athlete's ability to profit off themselves through publicity that any other ordinary citizen has. So as I give you those two pieces, go in any direction you want. Let's start off with you, Will. Are we in a healthy place with college basketball?
No, no. Anybody that knows me will tell you college basketball is my favorite sport. I'm a big Georgetown fan. You can listen. My Twitter handle is Harwood Hoyer, so that tells you that I'm a big Georgetown fan. I grew up where guys are staying 3 and 4 years. So I understand those times will change because people need to get their money because, now the older you get, it's like a bad thing, But the transferring kills me. And I'm not just going to blame the kids because the coaches do it as well. I look at situations where, a kid is not playing or they pissed off an AAU coach or pissed off a high school coach or parent. Next thing you look, bam, they just gone to the portal. So I think this transfer has just hurt chemistry because, they don't know how to play with each other. Every year is these colleges are turning into prep schools and junior colleges where they're having huge turnarounds. I mean, just look at Georgetown. Now, they have about 9, 10 new faces. That never happened back in the day. When Riley was playing at the Mount, that wasn't something. Maybe 1 or 2 transfers, I'm sure, but this is just crazy. But on the flip side, a lot of it comes from coaches as well. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. I heard of a situation, I'm not going to say what school, but they brought a kid in there and told him he wasn't going to play. So they figured, he was like, I'm okay with it. So what they did was they had a game. This is college basketball. He's a scholarship basketball player. They do this to walk-ons, not the scholarship kids. They purposely didn't put him in blowout wins. They did everything in their power so they could get that scholarship back. And he ended up staying and ended up being a starter. But, everybody's situation is not like that. And it's just, we put a lot of it on the kids saying, oh, man, these kids need to fight through adversity. But I also think us coaches need to fight through adversity as well because some of these kids are in the transfer portal by choice. So that's very concerning.
Riley, you have a unique view of this from 10,000 feet. What do you think? Is college basketball in a healthy place, sir?
College basketball is kind of like the wild, wild west right now, and I think it's funny. I'm kind of split, man. I'm a loyal guy, and so. Whenever I made the decision to play with someone, that was a decision that I was going to stick with. That's just how I am. But I also love that these kids have an opportunity to actually do what's best for them. Looking back at things at Mount St. Mary's, if I had had an opportunity to transfer out of there, I would have. I was considering it at one point in time. And I didn't do it because of the rules of the NCAA. You know what I mean? Like there was so many things in my way for making that a good decision that I might as well stayed where I was and just, made Mount St. Mary's the best that I can make out of it. And that's what I ended up doing. But I love that these kids now have an opportunity to, actually do something that's best for them and not be penalized by it. However, for the college coaches, I feel really bad for them because, you're in a no-win situation. I mean, you recruit somebody in, you develop them, you work with them, and they leave you. That's a very, very tough situation to be in. And I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't. I feel for you guys. But as for college basketball being in a great situation. I think again, I started this conversation off by talking about how everyone has to adjust to the changes that are being made. You know what I mean? Like college basketball has changed and is changing rapidly. You know what I mean? And I just think that everyone's got to catch up to how fast this is all moving. So I think college basketball is going to be fine.
Okay. And Shawn, being the current head coach, you have the final word on this. Are we in a healthy place in college basketball, sir?
Well, I'm gonna start off by saying, like Raleigh, I think college basketball is going to be fine at the end of the day because you got diehards like Will who's going to watch it no matter what. I stopped watching college basketball back in the early 2000s. It started to change then, in my opinion. With shoot, even before then, with all the one and dones and all of that stuff. I mean, college basketball is, in my opinion, has been getting watered down since the late 90s, early 2000s. But again, you got diehards like Will and my brother who both Georgetown fans. They put on their Georgetown hats and their Georgetown t-shirts no matter what. And they go yell and scream. If they lose, they're going to go crazy bananas if they win. So, college basketball will adjust. Coaches will adjust. That's as far as let me go backwards. The transfer portal, for the young men, for the student athletes, I'm happy for them. For a long time now, there's been a lot of people saying that these folks should be able to leave, and go to a different situation without restrictions if coaches can do it. And I believe that 1,000%. Now, if there's rules in place for the coaches, I could go with to sit out a year if you transfer, but I don't agree with it. I like the new rule. I think it gives young men, these kids aren't kids. When we speak of them being kids, they're grown men. So they should be able to make decisions after 18 years old, where they want to go to school at anywhere in this country or outside of the country. So I think that's a good thing. Now, as far as on a coach's standpoint, as far as the coaches, college coaches standpoint, it's tough. It is tough because now, I've been talking to a couple of coaches and it's real. The realization is you have to be prepared to coach a new team, recruit and coach a new team every single year. And what Riley said is something real true. I wanted to kind of, go back on that high school thing we were talking about. That's also a reason why a lot of, big time programs or a lot of colleges in a whole are not recruiting these high school kids because, we bring them in, we coach them up, we get them big, strong, fast, get them coached up, and then boom, just like that, as soon as they get some numbers, they're going to leave you. They're going to leave you. So, it's like, so do I get a young man out of high school and hope that we develop him hope that he can develop one. Number two, hope that when he develop, he'll be able to play, actually ready to play and step on the court. And then three, will we be able to retain him? Because, like Riley said, Riley, you're a hometown hero, bro. I know you already know that, but there's no way Mount St. Mary's would have been able to keep him. No way if the rules were the way they are now, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. He probably would have transferred up to I'm not even going to name no names. I don't want to put anything out there, but and rightfully so. Because these young men want to play at the highest level that's possible, and so I'm kind of torn in between. I think the college game is going to be just fine. I've thought it's been watered down for a long time. I'm a big time NBA guy, so I don't even really watch a lot of college. So I don't know. It'll be fine at the end of the day. It'll shake out, especially in about 3 years. Recruiting will shake out. A whole lot of things will be stabilized in about 3 or 4 years.
All right, that is a great segue because in our final segment, fans, we will talk about the state of professional basketball right here on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler and Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. And in segment 3, we're going to talk about the state of professional basketball. Before we pass it off to our panel, I want to give some stats. 2022 NBA draft. The NBA is a global game. We have 21 players who were drafted, which is 36% that have an international background. There's 4 different pathways. There's the college pathway. 72% of players who were drafted went through the college pathway. The international pathway, 19% of folks who were drafted went in an international pathway. 5% of draft picks went from the G League, and nobody went from overtime elite, got drafted. However, several of them got signed, and moving forward, we're going to have some overtime elite players drafted. In terms of the college route, 47% of players drafted were freshmen. 26% were sophomores. 16% were juniors. And wait for it, 9% were seniors. So in terms of professional basketball, what are your thoughts on the state of the NBA?
I love it.
Let's go with, go ahead, Will.
I love it. I love the NBA. Back in the day, I couldn't watch basketball, the NBA like that, because I thought the guys didn't play hard. But I think this year, with all this trash talking going on and super teams and stuff like that, I enjoy watching it. You know, I love the fact that the players are deciding their fate and deciding where they want to play. You know, everybody seems like they always have an issue when the players have a say. So, you know, I love that. I may be a little different, but I actually like the super teams because it kind of gives you that villain factor. It kind of like what Duke has in college basketball. I kind of like that. I like the fact that everybody hated the Nets. I like the fact that everybody hated Golden State. Like, I love that. I just think it makes the game interesting, and then it keeps GMs on their toes. You know, it's very unfortunate that, you know, seniors don't get a chance to get drafted as frequent as freshmen. But that's because a lot of these kids, when they find out that they have value, they leave. And, you know, you're looking at some of these players who hurt their stock, like a Matt Leonard in football, like a Terrence Morris, like a Melo Trimble. I mean, you really can't blame them, you know. So I love the way the NBA is. And even though I love college basketball, the NBA is on its heels.
Okay. Coach Brown, is the NBA in a healthy place, sir?
The NBA is in a very healthy place, and you can tell by the bills they pulling in every year. You know, the player movement. You know, a lot of people couldn't get down with that early. I liked it from the beginning. I like these guys being able to, decide their own fate, move the way they want to move, and they're making a lot of money doing it. As Will said, super teams, that give you something to give everybody a bullseye to shoot at. I'm not mad at the super teams. I'm not mad at guys teaming up. Let's do it. I love the NBA. I've always been a big NBA guy. Um, as far as the draft goes, the new path there is. I think there's like 5 pathways now. I want to say we're missing one, but I like the international pathway. I remember me and Will talking a few years ago when everybody was killing Mellow Ball and the Ball family, and we were like, yo, like this is a good move for LaMelo. And what do you know? 3 years later, he's the number 2 pick in the draft. He's signing a max deal. Yeah, I like it. I like these young men getting the opportunity to do what they do on their terms and make a whole lot of money doing it.
Okay, Riley, as somebody who has worked with NBA personnel, I wanted to give you the last word on this piece. So, is the NBA in a healthy space, baby?
I mean, I think very much so. Like, like Shawn said, I love that. I love the player empowerment. You know what I mean? How they have the ability to really, decide their own fate. Like Coach Maynard said, like, I'm not bothered at all by super teams. It doesn't bother me not one bit. Because they don't always win. I mean, we see that all the time. You know what I mean? So just because you put all these, great names next to one another doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work out for you. But yeah, like, I'm way more a pro basketball fan than I am of anything else. Grassroots, college basketball, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm an NBA guy to my core. And I love everything about it. I love I love what makes these guys special. I remember when I was a kid and I was playing Erbo, and I played Erbo as a young player. You know what I mean? Like I was younger than there was pros playing there, and I was like coming out of high school playing in the Erbo, so that was kind of different. So I was like literally on the floor with, NBA guys. One guy I remember coming, the first pro I ever played with was a guy named Johnny Newman, who played for the New York Knicks, small forward. And I could just remember like, being on the floor with him and just like really almost staring at him. Like I just wanted to see what makes him a pro versus what we're doing out here. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting ready to, be in college, and everyone else around me, there might be like, neighborhood legends, or, there might be some college great basketball players or whatever. But, like Johnny Newman was an NBA guy, you know what I mean? Getting like major minutes with the Knicks. And I just remember like always watching him like, man, this is what makes him a pro. So yeah, I just love the professionalism of NBA basketball. And then as you said, Keith, me having the opportunity to work with a good number of NBA front office people in the last 10 years or so, I've gotten to learn, the game from another side of it, which is really what I'm passionate about. That's really something that I would love to do with the rest of my life, if having that opportunity. But yeah, I mean, it makes general managers, like Maynard said, it makes them, they have to play these players honest now. You know what I mean? Like you can't trick them anymore and putting them in situations with these big deals where you can control the narrative. You know what I mean? Like now, like these players are smart enough to, do 2-year deals, 3-year deals, whatever the case may be, with the player option, not the team option. You know what I mean? Like it's so tricky right now on how they do it. But as a fan of it, I love it, and I think that pro basketball, the NBA basketball, is in a fantastic situation right now.
All right, so fans, as we close, I want to give each of our panelists an opportunity to say some final thoughts in any direction that they want to go in, and I do want to apologize due to time constraints. We can't get our full, rich discussion about the state of the women's game, but that means we're going to have to do another episode like this. So I appreciate that. Will, any final thoughts on the state of basketball? Any direction you want to take it in?
I'll just go from just all levels. I think basketball overall will be okay. Piggybacking up what Riley and Coach Brown says. I think that, like they said as well, we just have to get used to change. I think that, we always tend to say like the kids have changed, but in my opinion, I think the adults have changed. And I think that has a lot to do with the issues dealing with basketball at all levels. Not so much the NBA dealing with adults and stuff like that because, they're adults themselves. But I just think that we'll be okay. And I just think that if we adapt to change, I think everything will be okay.
Hey, Coach Brown, final thoughts.
Yeah, just like Will said, I think overall state of basketball is going to be fine. With COVID-19 coming hitting 2 years ago, it gave every industry a reset. Everything's kind of been thrown off off its original path, since COVID. And like every other industry, basketball is going to take some time to recover and some things to shake out. As far as and I'm gonna tell you another thing that's got to shake out: the football piece of college football. That's got to shake out, and that's going to that's going to sprinkle down to college basketball, AAU high school basketball, and grassroots basketball. So, kind of, I gave you a nugget to look out for.
Yes, indeed. Riley, you have the last word, sir. What are your final thoughts?
Um, I want to say that you can't imagine what it feels like to the soul of a kid who's playing basketball in that moment. The joy of competing, running, playing, the purity of what's going on when kids are on the floor playing basketball. You can't imagine from the sidelines what that feels like. But what I want to say is, as adults, you guys are ruining that experience for these kids. And I don't like it. I see it from all levels. I officiate basketball. I see some disgusting things going on while kids are on the floor playing basketball. you know um we all see these clips of parents and referees attacking referees and things of that nature. We see coaches doing crazy things, what I mean, to referees or to kids, what I mean, like the way adults are talking to kids while a kid is in the joy of playing basketball, you know what I mean? And kids are going to your journey is your journey, you know what I'm saying? So you're going to play, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to turn the ball over, you're going to miss free throws to win the game, you're going to miss layups, you're going to not box out. Like all this stuff is a part of all of our journeys, right? We all have done it, we've all experienced it. And I just think that whoever's going to be involved in youth basketball needs to really check their hearts and see, you know what I'm saying? Like really understand that this is about kids and not about adults. And that's on every level, high school, AAU basketball, and anything else, man. I just think that we need to get back to making basketball pure again. Look at that. I should make a hat out of that. Make basketball pure again.
And we're gonna slowly walk away from that. But seriously, fans, this has been an absolute treat for me. My tag team partner likes to say that knowledge should be shared, and you have the opportunity to listen to three people that I hold in high regard, high esteem, and I appreciate the fact that they gave me time and gave our listeners time to just have a conversation. And Mike and I are big on taking time to discuss what's real about it. It's not about hot takes or anything, as Riley said. It's about, we're educators. We're in the business of doing both, and I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes find a balance, even sometimes when they didn't want to. So again, on behalf of my tag team partner who's on his well-deserved vacation, Coach Mike Francis, and our esteemed panel, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, and we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.